You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
Ultimate Black Panther, back again. Issue number 7. It seems like we just got an issue of Ultimate Black Panther, say, 2 weeks ago, because I think we did.
Yeah.
I like on the cover where if you do glance by it quick, you're like, why is T'Challa messed up in a bunch of Christmas lights? That's what I saw when I first saw him. Like, wait, are they tagging him with Christmas lights? That's early. But it is written by Brian Hill.
What is he doing?
I don't know. I guess he's getting caught by the vines.
He's fighting that orb, right?
It's that orb doing the vines, the cool vines he's getting. I'm telling you, it looks like he's fighting through Christmas lights is what's happening. That is his biggest enemy. It's written by Brian Hill, art by Stefano Caselli, color art by David Coriel, letters by VC's Corey Petit. And I do believe that we just saw there is a recap, but we'll just get right into it. The thing about this, you do have a cast deal that looks kind of fancier.
I don't remember seeing this before.
I don't either. I think it's real fancy.
And it's real weird, too, because just to call out it calls out it as August 2024.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it looks like a print that was supposed to come out like now, but it's weird. Like, is that going to be like Ra's going to change in September?
I don't know, because the Spider-Man book is every month it comes out, they call out the different month it's in. And there's something with the months in these things.
And then even there you have these little symbols, but they're all the same.
Oh, yeah,
so
the symbols.
You got Black Panther, Storm, Killmonger, Shuri, Queen Okoye, Matron Amala, Ra, and Khonshu. Down at the bottom, they all look very concerned and very angry. So you end up where you start. And if you had listened to our review of the last issue, you will know that I lost my mind at the end saying Khonshu was 2 feet away from Black Panther and he let him walk away. And I said, I know that next issue, we're either going to see Khonshu go through a portal or they're going to completely ignore that and he's going to be somewhere else doing it. And that's what they do. He's in West Africa fighting a bunch of randos. He was 2 feet away from Khonshu and he already kicked him and punched him. And then he let him go. But in this, he's, going to town. He's there and everybody's fighting against these guys. And the whole play is that he wants to kind of, make sure that they realize they have a big army. Not even a big army, but they have Storm. She's whipping people around. You have Killmonger, all these guys included. And you end up having a pretty cool motorcycle.
Yeah, the tread glider.
But all this is it ends up, and it reminds me a bit of John Ridley's run where you ended up having like every time T'Challa would walk anywhere out on any plane, he'd get attacked by 18 million people. They just come running at him and they're running at him pretty much like the Raiders of the Lost Ark at one point. Like they're coming over a hill that allows T'Challa, they all can just they can prepare, which they do. And you have some powers, guys. It's one of the better scenes, I guess, that we've had.
Yeah, use like a sonic blast to like take these guys out. Storm does a bunch of stuff with wind.
Yeah, she like sucks them up in a non-sexy way, and then they get taken care of. I like that she just lifts them up in the air and then makes them fall down and they're knocked out because
or snaps their neck.
Anybody.
I don't know what's going on.
I think they're all dead.
Yeah, they're all dead.
I'm looking. If they're not dead, every limb broken. And there's some things maybe worse than death, but you end up where she does her deal. And you end up where, because he says no killing. And she just cripples them all. But then she says, I don't know. You're too much of a good-hearted king. Your enemy, he destroys people, but you end up being nice. And, T'Challa says, I will not kill those Wakanda is meant to protect. That's fine. We're in issue 7, and we haven't gotten much in this book. I have to mention the idea because this is what we said even last issue, the issue before. We don't get a lot of progression of the overall story. We ended up being told that there's a separate orb, a separate sort of mineral type deal that's the opposite of vibranium, but it ends up making what looks like Christmas lights on the cover, but it ends up being something that brings life. And they said it's the opposite, but we still can't wrap our head around it. And last issue, the best thing was that T'Challa said, I don't know that Ra and Khonshu can do anything with that because I don't know anything of it. He flip-flops in this and says, I don't know anything about it, but they do. But he goes and sees, this whole deal. I'm telling you, when he talks a lot of this with Amala, Matron Amala, of the Dora Milaje or the Dora Milaje is out there killing. She is there. And they don't really do. She talks in riddles still.
Yeah, it's one of the witches or whatever.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I forgot the whole deal. But she ends up where she's doing her deal. It's the Voodoo Khan. I was going to say Shaka Khan.
I think of the Bene Gesserit or whatever from Dune. That's what I think of when I see
the
these
Voodoo
people.
Khan, though, sounds like a pretty cool rapper.
It's pretty cool, I guess.
Yeah, I like the name. And but she's not going to tell you straightforward what you have to do, what you have to go. So after she said, "Oh, you've heard of," she's the one who told him, and she's like, "Oh, you heard of that? Yeah, we go with faith. When you science versus faith, you're science, we're faith." And then it just comes down to the deal of, "Oh, you think you know about vibranium?" I'm like, what are we doing here? We end up, it doesn't feel like this is anything of the ultimate universe. It just feels like a Black Panther book where you're trying to go back and change things and retcon stuff, but you are able to create new stuff, but it doesn't feel new. It feels like something like a Jason Aaron would do. It feels like something like, a Donny Cates where they like to go back, and even like a Jeff Johns where they're going to make something so cool to go forward. But this is just the ultimate universe. And at this point, I'm wondering, where the hell is any of the council of the maker not coming in and stopping any of this? They are going out willy-nilly and just destroying people, storms, lightning them up, winding them up, and nobody has any reaction to it. They're just here fighting Ra and Khonshu, and it feels so separate.
No, you're right. Outside of Ra and Khonshu being part of the Maker's crew, this could just be a regular Black Panther story.
And so where is it
There's nothing different.
Where is somebody getting a hold of Ra and Khonshu and saying, "Hey guys, what are you doing? Things aren't going like we want, and you better stop this," or whatever? It just seems so singular. It seems so pushed away from that if you were reading it up to here and you did not know, you would just think ultimate. It just means cool Black Panther.
Yeah, it's just a Black Panther story in the regular 616 universe.
The only thing maybe, but Storm does hang out at points. The only thing would be, Killmonger's kind of. It's like, it's weird. But you end up then where Okoye and T'Challa, they're there in the bed, about to have sexy time, but they start talking about, what's the deal? The Voodoo Khan think vibranium's alive? And even then, I love where it's like the Voodoo Khan's like, it's more faith. You have to have faith in it. It's more than metal. Has it controlled you, or do you control it? And then you just have T'Challa I swear to God, he's standing in a room looking at the molecular structure of vibranium and pretending he knows what he's doing. He's like, he hopes somebody comes in and is like, man, that guy's smart. Because he's just looking at it, and I think he's like, yep, I've done nothing. I'm all out of ideas. Puts it down.
I'm going to go talk to my sisters, what he should be saying. I don't know.
And that's the thing, though, in that he ends up saying, hey, the faith of this and whatnot. And they're talking about all this stuff. And the worst part, that's not Shuri, and it looks like it.
I thought it was Shuri at first. I'm like, what is going on? Why is he sitting in a bed with her like that?
That's the big thing. I'm like, this is a little too close. I don't know what they do in Wakanda. they close those doors for a reason. And I'm looking at him like, what are you doing, Shuri? Like, oh, it's Okoye, because we haven't seen her in a while.
Because he's like sitting on the edge of the bed, like she's like all on the middle of it. So.
And then even at the point when he kind of gets more on the bed and she seems to back off, like, whoa, brother.
And then when he stands up in that last panel, it's like, okay, here we go.
And then he says, I have no answers, Okoye, only a theory. I'm like, oh, it was Okoye. I get
Okoye.
it. I will mention, too, because in the next scene, you do then end up having T'Challa go and start to talk to Killmonger. Is a good-looking dude.
He is. He's like a Lenny Kravitz. Like
he does. And before we thought he was a woman last issue, we thought Okoye was Shuri. But the art's pretty good. But boy, that guy's a good-looking dude. He does look like a young Lenny Kravitz. He looks pretty good. But then you end up having T'Challa's like, oh, listen. They have he's like, vibranium may have its opposite. He's telling him this nonsense. And he's like, or it's descendant, or it's forebear. I'm like, you don't know anything.
He's just throwing everything out there.
He basically says it could be anything or maybe something else. And then he says, but Khonshu understands it in a way I do not. Last issue, you legitimately had a badass thing to Shuri saying, they can't do anything because I don't know anything about it, so they don't. You flip-flop here. And he said, and in his keep, it can terraform, enhance life, and most likely destroy it. He doesn't know anything.
Is this a situation where the king is like, he's doing his own thing and everybody's just going along with it, but nobody's really listening to him?
I guess, because they end up where, and then you end up where, I guess it's Okoye, says, I have never seen a stronger mind than yours. But really, he hasn't said anything. he said that this is something they have. It could be that. It could be this. It might not be anything that might destroy things or make it or destroy it again.
Just generalizations. That's all it is.
That's all it is. And he says, my mind is imprisoned by logic and reason. Amala is right. I need to think as a god to defeat a god. I'm like, okay, now we're
sounds like he has OCD.
Yeah, it's weird. He's like, they're going to do it.
His brain is a prison.
They end up like, okay, and then again, this is T'Challa's off. He says, hey, Killmonger, you're a good-looking dude. I need you to find somebody for me. I need you to find someone
too.
Both mystic and scientific. Find them in the world. Bring them to Wakanda. So Killmonger's like, all right, well, that's...
Do you have a name?
Yeah. It's like, there's a big thing. Find them in the world. You mean our world? Or this? And then just says, do you have a name? No. And he says, if I knew whom I needed, I wouldn't ask you. No. If you didn't know what are you doing? And he's like, okay, I'll start doing that now. I will look for somebody somewhere in the entire world that I don't know who their name is, that you said is both mystic and scientific. Thank you.
I'll see you never, I guess.
I was going to say, I will be back in 300 years. I hope that I am immortal.
Impossible task.
It is not happening. And then to make it better, because T'Challa feels bad, I think. And then he says, do you have a name? If I knew whom I needed, I wouldn't ask you and Okoye to search for them. I seriously think, number one, this is him saying, you need to find a needle in a haystack while I nail Storm. That's all I need. You take my wife and you get out of here. It is basically, I will reverse it now and say, this is what he said. Hey, here's $5. Go to the movies, kids. And he's going to nail Storm. That's all he's going to do.
It's like a wife swap or something.
Oh, my God. Then he says, to really give them clues, chase whispers, hunt rumors, return with someone that is no stranger to mysteries. They will be treated well here as they help us understand the nature of all this. He has clues wrapped in enigmas, told as a whisper down the lane. He has nothing, and he is getting them out of the way. And good-looking Killmonger says, "Shay, right now, I'm taking Storm. You are not going to be left alone with her in that sexy outfit." So he says, hey, and then he says, why are you asking me? I don't belong here, Aaron says, Killmonger. And he's like, I'm asking you, again, he's now going to I'm asking you because you're fluent in the outside world, Eric. Okoye brings the discipline of the Dora Milaje, and she will keep my conscience with you. Again, the conscience that's now going to be nailing Storm. So he's conscience free. So he says, okay, and that's where you go. Storm says, I will go. Derek, his conscience will be my responsibility. And he's like, oh, shit. I thought that, she was going to stay with me. His plan's over. And then we just go to more attacks.
This reminds me of, like if you had a relative, like say you had somebody from England from your family visiting you in Quakertown, right? Then the guy goes to you, hey, tomorrow let's go visit Los Angeles.
Oh, this is the thing. Now, this was the 80s. This was the 80s. My grandfather did visit me from England. He's from Bournemouth. And when they got there, the big thing was he's like, I want to go see Joan Collins.
There you go.
Of Dallas and Dynasty. And it was Dynasty. And he's like, come on, let's go. Like, he thought he could walk there. Like, not quite, Grandpa.
Yeah, it's like, we're not in England, dude. And obviously, T'Challa knows nothing about how the world works.
That'd be great. Eric goes, you know how big the world is? And he's like, no, you're fluent in the world. And he's like, it's big. It's really big. Like, like Wakanda isn't the biggest place. Like, that's a blip.
There's hundreds of languages, hundreds of countries.
It's like 70% of the world is water. What is this place? He starts yelling. So then what he's going to do, because I thought they were going to go off. And then you have T'Challa who ends up, he's like, okay, well, please join me on the battlefield. So this seems like they're like, okay, we're going to do this. I'm sending you on your magical mystery tour that will never end. But before that, join me on the battlefield because I really want to Chris Angel mind freak these people because I'm going to jump. And when I do that, Storm, please light the night up and make them think that it's me. I'm like, all right. And he does this. He got those Zero Warriors, the whole Khonshu deal. And when he comes down, he says, Aurora, give me the Storm. She kind of electrifies him where he goes and then hits the ground and then uses that whole thing of being electrified to go and beat the crap out of everybody who's just standing there. And then you have the villagers who come out and he says, basically, what's my name? And they yell, Black Panther. Say it again. Say it loud. Black Panther. And they're all yelling. Thought they were going to do the whole hand gesture. And then he's like, all right. And then, because they're all in manacles and they're all chained up. And he's like, now I will let you go. And it looks like he's just let him go. Like, who has a key? He does it. It's like so non-badass when he's doing that. The one guy's there.
Slowly unlocking their chains.
There. The other people are like, hey, can I get the key to, like, he's just doing that. And then he says, Moon Knight, what does he promise you? One guy should step up and is like, he saved my son who was dying. Like,
hey, you said you would be his follower when that happened. So
he said there'll be no place where you cannot see. But we've seen the promises. He's done things. Khonshu is more like, and the Moon Knight, Khonshu is more like a godfather. He'll give you a favor, but you will have to do a favor for him later. But now they just go, he can see everywhere. Well, he'll see this. And then he blasts the deal. And then I know that it's not a huge, but it doesn't even look like they're that far away. I see that they are, but it's like the whole thing. And you end up wrong Khonshu, who I don't really like. Like, I suspect that is the cry of Wakanda. Like, really in this, T'Challa's really giving them the benefit that they will understand what this means. I wish that this was just like, looks like some of that backwards lightning again. And then they just go in like, oh, man. And then it must be. He has a kingdom built on sleeping power, and it will awaken, and the cry of Wakanda will be a scream. I'm like, the thing that I kept thinking of, the script, like he thinks it's going to be funny. Like, oh, man, that's a scream. But even then, they're talking in riddles. Nobody talks in riddles
like
here.
That.
Like, why aren't they saying, oh, my God, that looks like something from Wakanda? And then Khonshu says, yeah, they're done. I'm going to go and rip them apart. No. Oh, my God, the sleeping power, it will awaken. I'm like, you just fought the guy 2 minutes ago and got the crap kicked out of you. Stop it. So in the end, you have more going on in this issue. A lot of nonsense. I mean, so much nonsense that happened, but it made me giggle. So I think I liked it better than last issue. Last issue was so boring. And this, you get all the characters. And last issue, we thought Killmonger was a woman. This issue, we thought Okoye was Shuri.
You realize that none of this was meant to be funny, though, right?
No, it wasn't. That's what I'm saying, though. But if I'm going to review it, and I'm going to tell people, is like, I'm looking at this as one of the funniest books that I've read in 2 months. At least I think it's hilarious with the idea of, I've done nothing and I'm all out of ideas. You have that whisper down the lane of an enigma wrapped in a question and a riddle. We have that. We have people just talking in riddles of randomness and then telling people to go off on quests that make no sense, that can't be done. But before, let me steal the lightning.
Do you think we'll see that quest at all, or he'll just return with the person?
I swear to God, if we don't end up seeing where, you have Khonshu and Ra, they go to attack, you have T'Challa, and just randomly see Killmonger in Chicago eating a pizza and asking somebody, hey, anybody know about a scientist and a magician? They're like, no, but maybe it's like, I don't know. I was going to make something up. Neil deGrasse Tyson with Chris Angel. There you go. A magician and a scientist. You get them. Get going. But they have nothing to work on. And now T'Challa in the middle of what should be, not even middle, the start of a war for Africa. He is sending the only people that he has away. The only ones left
strongest guys.
Shuri and T'Challa, because Storm says, I'm going to go as well, and he's fine with it. I don't know why they're doing this. And that's why I think that when you have Brian Hill, he has to get some numbers. So T'Challa, instead of, he just impressed a couple villagers, and now he's going to give them weapons. What are they going to do? And they're going against that element that's the opposite of vibranium, but now vibranium's living and controls its destiny. I don't know what's going on. What would you give it?
I mean, I had fun talking with you about it. I think it's a 6 for me, though.
I'm telling you, for one time, I'm going to be positive because I thought it was hilarious, and I know it's not supposed to be, but it still tickled my fancy.
Yeah, it's
I'm
fun.
giving it a 7.
There you go.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.